The Texas sun beat down mercilessly on Huntsville State Penitentiary as the afternoon shift began. Officer Maria Rodriguez had been working these walls for 15 years, and she could sense trouble brewing like a storm on the horizon. In the prison yard, tensions were running high. Marcus Thompson, a 24-year-old serving 3 years for armed robbery, kept his head down as he walked toward the basketball court. His lean frame moved with careful precision. Prison had taught him that survival meant being invisible. "Hey, Thompson!" The voice cut through the yard chatter like a blade. Danny "Snake" Morrison, a lifer with gang tattoos covering his arms, stepped into Marcus's path. Behind him, 3 other inmates formed a semicircle. "I don't want any trouble, Morrison," Marcus said quietly. His brown eyes darted toward the guard tower. Officer Rodriguez was watching, but she was 50 yards away. "Too bad, college boy. You owe my people for that protection last month." Snake's voice carried the weight of violence barely contained. "Time to pay up." The confrontation erupted in seconds. Fists flew, bodies collided, and the yard erupted in shouts. Other inmates either scattered or formed a circle, some cheering, others recording on smuggled phones. Officer Rodriguez's radio crackled to life as she sprinted toward the fight. "Code Yellow, Yard 7, all units respond." By the time the guards broke up the brawl, Marcus was bloodied but standing. Snake was on the ground, unconscious with a nasty gash on his forehead. "Marcus, you're done for the day," Rodriguez barked, her hand resting on her baton. "Medical check, then back to your cell." Security cameras tracked Marcus as he limped toward the bathroom block, his white prison uniform stained with blood and dirt. The timestamp read 2:47 p.m. He pushed through the heavy door marked "Inmates Only." That was the last time anyone saw Marcus Thompson. When dinner count came at 6 p.m., cell block D was 1 man short. Marcus Thompson had vanished without a trace, like smoke dissolving into Texas air.
Warden James Mitchell stood in his office, staring at the security footage for the 100th time. Detective Sarah Chen from the Houston Police Department sat across from his desk, her notebook filled with questions that had no answers. "Run it again," Detective Chen said, her voice tinged with frustration. The grainy black and white footage showed Marcus entering the bathroom at 2:47 p.m. The camera angle covered the entrance perfectly, no blind spots, no technical glitches. For the next 4 hours, 17 different inmates entered and exited that bathroom. Not one of them was Marcus Thompson. "There's no other way out," Warden Mitchell explained, running his weathered hands through his gray hair. "That bathroom has one entrance, no windows, no vents large enough for a human. We've checked everything twice." Officer Rodriguez entered the office, her uniform crisp despite the chaos of the day. "Sir, we've completed the 3rd search of the entire facility. Every cell, every common area, the kitchen, laundry, workshop, everything. No sign of Thompson." Detective Chen looked up from her notes. "What about the other inmates? Anyone talking?" Rodriguez shook her head. "Prison code, Detective. Nobody saw nothing, nobody heard nothing. Even the guys who were his friends have gone silent." "This doesn't make sense," Chen muttered, tapping her pen against her lips. "People don't just evaporate." The investigation consumed the next 2 weeks. Every inch of the bathroom was examined with forensic precision. The walls were solid concrete, the floor original 1960s tile. The ceiling was intact, the plumbing was checked and rechecked, the pipes were too narrow for human passage. Marcus's cell was dismantled piece by piece. His few possessions, some books, letters from his mother, a small Bible, revealed nothing unusual. His cellmate, Tommy Rodriguez, no relation to the guard, claimed Marcus had been acting normally. "He was different, though," Tommy finally admitted during his 4th interview. "Last few months, he'd been, hopeful, like he had something to look forward to. Used to stay up late, writing by the little light we got from the hallway." "Writing what?" Detective Chen pressed. Tommy shrugged. "Never asked. None of my business." As weeks turned to a month, then 2 months, the case grew cold. The FBI was consulted but found no evidence of escape. The assumption became that Marcus Thompson had somehow died in that bathroom and his body had been disposed of through means nobody could determine. But Officer Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial, something hiding in plain sight.
6 months later, the case of Marcus Thompson had become prison legend, a ghost story told in whispers during lockdown. Officer Rodriguez still walked past that bathroom every day, still wondered what had really happened. It was a sweltering August morning when the plumbing in cell block D started acting up. The ancient pipes were backing up, and the bathroom where Marcus had vanished was flooded with several inches of murky water. "Rodriguez, we need you to supervise while maintenance fixes this mess," Warden Mitchell called over the radio. Maria grabbed her flashlight and headed to the cursed bathroom. Joe Martinez, the prison's head maintenance worker, was already there with his tools, cursing in both English and Spanish as he examined the pipes behind the toilet. "Gonna have to move this whole unit," Joe muttered, pointing to the old porcelain toilet. "These pipes haven't been updated since the Carter administration." As they worked to disconnect the toilet from the wall, Maria noticed something odd. Behind where the toilet had been bolted to the floor, there was a loose section of tile. Not broken, deliberately loosened. "Joe, hold up," she said, kneeling down. Her flashlight beam revealed something that made her heart stop. Wedged between the wall and the old plumbing, wrapped in plastic and carefully hidden, was a thick bundle of papers. With trembling hands, Maria extracted the package. The plastic was prison-grade food wrap, the kind used in the kitchen. Inside were dozens of handwritten pages, all in the same careful script. The first page made her gasp. "My name is Marcus Thompson. If you're reading this, then something has happened to me. I need you to know the truth about this place, about what I discovered, and about why I can't let them silence me." "Joe, I need you to stop working and step back," Maria said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "This is evidence." As she carefully turned the pages, Marcus Thompson's story began to unfold in his own words. Letters to his mother that were never sent, a journal documenting corruption he'd witnessed, and most shocking of all, his detailed plan for exposing the truth, even if it cost him everything. The handwriting was painstaking, like someone who had struggled to learn late in life. Between the lines of his story, Maria could see the real Marcus Thompson, not the criminal the system saw, but a young man desperately trying to change his life. But it was the final pages that made her blood run cold. Marcus had discovered something that powerful people would kill to keep secret, and he knew they were coming for him.
Detective Chen sat in the prison conference room, Marcus's hidden letters spread across the table, like pieces of a puzzle finally coming together. Officer Rodriguez stood beside her, while Warden Mitchell paced nervously. "Read the part about Officer Williams again," Chen instructed. Rodriguez cleared her throat and read from Marcus's careful handwriting. "Officer Williams has been smuggling drugs into the prison for months. I saw him take payment from Snake Morrison's crew. When I refused to keep quiet, he threatened me. He said I'd end up like Tommy Vasquez, the inmate who committed suicide last year. But Tommy didn't kill himself. I have proof." The room fell silent. Officer Brad Williams had been on duty the day Marcus disappeared. He was also the guard who had initially searched the bathroom and declared it empty. "There's more," Rodriguez continued, flipping to another page. "I've been learning to read and write properly with help from old Pete in the library. If something happens to me, Pete knows where I hid copies of everything. Williams doesn't know about Pete. Nobody pays attention to an old man teaching literacy." Detective Chen looked up sharply. "Who's old Pete?" Warden Mitchell's face went pale. "Peter Santiago. He's been here for 20 years, runs our educational programs. But he—" Mitchell paused, realization dawning. "He requested early release 6 months ago, said he wanted to spend his remaining years with family."
Right after Marcus disappeared, Chen noted grimly. The final letter was dated the day before Marcus vanished. Tomorrow, I'm going to give Williams one last chance to come clean. If he refuses, I'm taking everything I know to the FBI. I've arranged for Pete to get the evidence out if something happens to me. Mom always said I should use my second chance to help others. Maybe this is how. Williams killed him, Rodriguez whispered. He had access, opportunity, and motive. Detective Chen was already on her phone. I need an APB on Peter Santiago, and I want Officer Brad Williams brought in for questioning immediately. But Williams was nowhere to be found. His shift had ended 2 hours earlier, and his apartment was empty. His truck was discovered abandoned at the Mexican border, keys still in the ignition. The search for Peter Santiago yielded better results. The elderly inmate was found at his daughter's house in Austin, where he'd been living quietly since his early release. When detectives arrived, he was sitting on the porch as if he'd been waiting for them. I wondered when you'd come, Pete said softly, his weathered hands folded in his lap. Marcus was a good boy. He deserved better than what happened to him. In Pete's small room, detectives found photocopies of everything Marcus had documented: financial records, photographs taken with a smuggled phone, written testimonies from other inmates who had witnessed the corruption but were too afraid to speak. But most importantly, Pete had the answer to the question that had haunted everyone for 6 months. Where is Marcus Thompson? Detective Chen asked gently. Pete Santiago looked toward the Texas horizon, tears in his eyes. That boy is long gone, Detective. Williams made sure of that. But Marcus knew it was coming. He made his choice. He chose truth over safety.
3 months later, the corruption scandal at Huntsville State Penitentiary made national headlines. Officer Brad Williams was arrested in Tijuana and extradited to face charges of murder, drug trafficking, and corruption. Snake Morrison and 3 other inmates were also charged as co-conspirators. The bathroom where Marcus had vanished was eventually torn apart completely. Behind false walls that had been hastily constructed, investigators found Marcus Thompson's remains. The coroner determined he had been killed within hours of his disappearance, then hidden while the initial search was conducted. But Marcus's death was not in vain. Officer Rodriguez stood before a congressional committee investigating prison reform, Marcus's letters in her hands. The young man's careful handwriting had become evidence not just of his murder, but of systematic failures in the correctional system. Marcus Thompson was failed by everyone who was supposed to protect him, Rodriguez testified. But in his final weeks, he found something that prison had tried to take away: hope, dignity, and the courage to do what was right. Peter Santiago, granted full immunity for his cooperation, had become an advocate for prison literacy programs. Marcus couldn't read properly when I met him, but by the end he was writing like someone who had finally found his voice. That's what education does. It gives people power, even in the darkest places. Marcus's mother, Patricia Thompson, established a foundation in her son's name, providing educational resources for inmates nationwide. The program had a simple motto, taken from Marcus's own words: every person deserves a second chance to find their voice. Officer Rodriguez was promoted to deputy warden, tasked with implementing new transparency measures. On her desk, she kept the first letter Marcus had written to his mother, the one where his handwriting was shaky, but his determination was clear. Dear Mom, I know I disappointed you, but I'm learning to be better. Someone here is teaching me to read real good, and I'm discovering I have things to say. Maybe when I get out, I can make you proud. I love you more than I can write down yet, but I'm learning. Your son, Marcus. In the end, Marcus Thompson didn't vanish. He transformed from a forgotten prisoner into a symbol of redemption and justice. His voice, found in those hidden letters, continued to echo through the halls of power long after he was gone. The truth had set him free, even in death.